record to the. Okay, so how's everybody today? Excellent, excellent. I am joined here by my illustrious partner in crime. And it was definitely, I would say, a partner in crime after this mess. Week in Tallahassee, Miss Maria McKee.
Hello.
Hello, hello. Oh, what happened? I've lost our screen. We've lost the screen. Where did it go? Did we get it back? That is weird.
I broke
There we are.
it.
You broke it.
I broke it.
You broke a lot of things. We may I ask, out of everybody here today, how many of us have been at Guard before? I know, Keith, you've been to Guard. Keith, you're
Maybe not initials for
oh, please go ahead.
Great American Realtor Days.
Great American Realtor Day. So you went with Rouse, correct?
4 years.
How many times? Just once. Once did it. Did you take the bus?
Could have been the bus.
Okay, we understand that. Okay. Oh, so you're like, no way, I'm not.
If we had known that, we would have picked you up.
We could have picked you
Yeah,
up. We stopped in Gainesville and picked
Yeah.
people up. So there you go.
Yeah.
So, well, as you may or may not know, I am the chair for government affairs this year for Orlando Regional Realtors Association. And so therefore, of course, I had to take the bus.
You did.
And we had an awesome double decker. Would you not agree?
It was a very cool bus.
It was an amazing bus. We did have one little problem. We're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're going to download everything about the Great American Realtor Days. I have to say, overall, it was an amazing event.
It
Would you
really
agree?
was. It really was. But Carrie, what is Great American Realtor Days?
This is our opportunity to abscond with great ideas and great opportunity to come into Tallahassee and to fight for the rights of property ownership, clean waterways, attainable home ownership for all, many different things that we'll discuss, but also our right to really get in front of the legislative body and really to have a nice conversation one-on-one with people.
Yeah,
And that's to have a voice and to really stand up. And you know, the thing is that I thought was so interesting, guys, these folks don't even know. They really don't. Like, we were talking about some of the actual issues that we face on a daily basis, and they had no clue.
They legitimately were surprised in many cases, and this
Yeah.
is their job. Their legislature.
And they said about 2,000 bills in this session will come before them, and they maybe will end up with 300 to 400 that make it through. So imagine 2,000 bills. It's important for us to point out the important ones. Would you not agree?
Absolutely.
And each bill, so if we're talking about attainable housing, right? Hometown heroes. Each bill will have a House and a Senate side to it, which is interesting. So we need to point out, you got to look for these bills and we have to tell them which numbers there are. So it's really important work that we do because we need to make sure that they're hyper focused on the ones that count, because there's going to be a lot of fluff that they're going to be focused on during this little legislative session. And remember, these aren't their only job. These are, you know, the Florida legislative body. This isn't, you know, the federal, right? So a lot of these people don't do this as their only job. They have other things that they do for a living. So we have to make sure that they're focused when they're here on the things that really matter. So that is really important that we're there.
And sometimes, and putting it towards in a light that's relevant to their constituents in their district, because even though they do represent all of Florida, naturally, they're going to be focused on how it's relevant to their voters, the people that sent them from their district.
As a matter of fact, we spoke to one, I think she was from the House, wasn't she?
Yes, she was.
And she said, I'm only interested in those bills and those certain things that you're going to share with me that have to do directly with my constituents.
She was very upfront about it.
She was very upfront.
I respect at least the honesty.
Yeah, because certain things that we talked about, she didn't care. She didn't even want to hear about it.
Yeah, she didn't. And honestly, they're all like that. They're just not going to tell you they're like that.
Exactly.
So at least she was being straightforward about it.
So, you know, we joke about, you know, the fun that we had coming up there or the interesting challenges that we had. But really the importance was the second day we were there.
Yeah.
It was spending the time with the legislators one-on-one. And the other thing was, so when you meet with them, you have a group of things that we wanted to talk about. I spoke myself on attainable housing and I spoke on condos because I think it's important that they understand the situation with condos, right? Because we have the milestone reports, we have the reserve studies, and then what happens with all that? These are super important things that are going on, right, guys? But then you get these buildings, and there's, I believe, 80 here in the state of Florida, where the poor people now have these new assessments that they can't afford.
Yeah.
And nobody will now buy them because it costs too much to maintain these buildings. So what do they have to do? They have to condemn the buildings. That could be in any area. And there are, I believe, was it 80 in Central Florida or 80 in Florida? I can't recall.
In just Central Florida.
80 in Central Florida. So think about that. That could have been in any one of their
Yeah,
districts.
absolutely.
So this is important that they understand this is affecting all of us. So what we were asking for is some relief funds to help, save the buildings, really, to help these owners be able to pay for these assessments that are going to be coming and save our home, right? But save our condo home.
And this already exists for single family homes
Yes.
from last year, the hardening program.
Mhm.
And they're asking to extend it to condos, which is even more in need now since the Surfside legislation went through.
Now, how many of you even knew that they had Save Our Home program that went through last year? Probably not many though, right? Because this is the problem. We have government affairs out there fighting for these things, and then they don't tell anybody that it's going on. That's what happens, guys. This is the reality. So that's what they did. They went up and rallied for that because this actually has occurred in single family homes where they have the same situation where people can't afford to maintain their own homes. And so they now have funds. Do you remember how much that they have allocated?
Well, off the top of my head, I don't, but it goes in about 2 to 3 months when they reallocate it. So if you need hurricane storm windows, and even a new roof.
Yeah.
So anything to do with hurricane hardening of your home. And you're going to lose your home. You can't get insurance renewal. Now, and a lot of these legislators thought it was just a coastal issue. They didn't realize it could be right here in Oviedo, Orlando, wherever it might be.
Exactly. Think about how many places, you have to, after the last few hurricanes, there's people who lost their roofs that couldn't afford to put new roofs back on. They were still waiting for insurance.
Blue tarps.
Exactly. And then what happened? You had water inside your home, so you had damage. Now you're waiting for insurance to come take care of that. And God help you if you have the main insurance company that's still waiting to cover from 2 hurricanes ago, right? So we have a lot of situations here in Central Florida where we need help for homeowners who don't have extra funds to take care of this stuff. And where are they living? What if you're stuck somewhere and you can't live in your home? Who's paying for that? So there's a lot of, need that we have here in Central Florida. Now, the other thing is, Hometown Heroes, we've all heard of that program.
Yep.
And that
3
when
years now?
3 years now, we've had money allocated for that. When you get the funds issued, first of all, they get issued at one time. They used up in about, what is it? Maybe
1 to 2 months. they're
1
gone.
to 2 months, they're gone. So we're asking for it to become a budget item, first of all, so that this is something that's always funded. But we're also asking that the money doesn't get issued at the same
Spread it
time.
out.
Because not everybody needs a home at the same time. Does everybody need a home in January? No, not necessarily, right? So if you can allocate the funds at various times throughout the year, it's going to be able to be used by more people, more widely used. So those are the things we're asking for the Hometown Heroes, that we continue offering homes for attainable housing. Because the biggest thing we all know, and this maybe not in the Sotheby's space, but guys, think about how many of you how long have you been in the market, Keith? About 6, 7 years?
Selling?
Selling. 8 years. Rodney, what am I saying? How did I call you?
9 years.
9 years though, right? Angela, how many years?
I'll say 20.
20 years. I myself, 20, 21 years, Maria?
26.
26 years. Okay. Think about how much the homes have increased, right?
Huge.
Think about how much it's ridiculous. Ocala even is ridiculous.
Yeah.
People used to run to Ocala. I know, because when we started selling there in
Yeah.
2018, homes you could buy there for 150 are now in the 300s.
Well, the first home I bought personally in Altamont Springs, I paid $49,000 for it.
What could you buy for 49,000 these
Pay more for my
days?
car now. That's terrifying, but yeah, think about
It's
it.
so true.
Richard bought his house in 2020 or 2021. Paid 200,000 for a brand new house, and now they're going for over 300.
Exactly. Now, here's the problem. The biggest issue most people have about buying a home is what? Down payment.
For
They
society.
don't have the down payment, right? Now, also the other issue, hey, Lisa, and I love this. We were surprised, and this was probably one of my favorite things by Governor DeSantis. He came in and he spoke to us. He was the best.
Mhm.
And what he said is so true. What costs more money than anything is the homeowner's insurance, it's the property taxes, right? We pay more for that than the actual mortgage on your home.
Especially if it's paid off.
Yeah.
Even more so, you never get to pay it off, really.
Exactly. So one of the things he shared with us that I loved, does anybody know 3 years ago what we did to try to decrease the cost of insurance? See, nobody knows. We actually stopped, I would say not stop, but contained litigation. Sorry, Angela.
Slap
No.
them on the hand.
No, the reality is that, and this is the funny part, the majority of litigation for the, the roofs and all of that was coming out of Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade.
Mhm.
Except where were the hurricanes really coming out of? Not Broward, Miami-Dade, or Palm, right?
Yeah, other than one small one, we really have not had a major storm down there since Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. They've been, thankfully for them on the other coast,
Yeah.
right? I mean, heck, I think we've had more in Central Florida than they've had
Probably,
down there,
yeah.
right? Which is crazy.
Actually, more in New York, but that's a whole other subject.
Yeah, right. Not even go there. But here's the thing. They're the ones that have been having more litigation for the roof repair and all of that craziness, saying it came from hurricane. Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's when they put in they put in all the stop claims on in the litigation. What that's done by putting it all those barriers in place for that litigation, that has brought more insurance companies back to our market. We have had 24 new insurance companies back to Florida. Now, it hasn't decreased the cost of the policies yet, but it has decreased the increase, if we could say.
Yes.
I think he said 6% is the highest increase last
Yep,
year.
it actually went down, yeah, so.
Compared to everybody nationally,
Mhm.
that's the lowest increase in insurance. So if you call that a win, right? Now, when will it go down? Well, we need to have more companies
Mhm.
continue to come, but this has been something they've been working on for the past 3 years. So at least we're making strides.
And that is a direct result of the lobbying and what's been going on from the Realtor Association going up.
Yeah. So, but who knew that, right? The problem is we don't talk about this stuff. The other really interesting thing he brought up, which we weren't lobbying for, but I think is amazing, property taxes. He said, you buy a refrigerator, you pay tax on it, and then you get to use a quiet enjoyment for the rest of the refrigerator's life, right? You buy a home, you pay taxes on it, but you don't get quiet enjoyment of that home. You have to pay taxes for it every year. He said, what happened with that? I thought that was really interesting.
You're renting your house from
You
the
still are
state.
paying for it every year, right?
Sure.
Now, I don't know how you replace that income because we don't have income tax, right? So this is a true issue. Like what kinds of, taxation or something could we do to replace that? But he definitely wants to increase homestead exemption. He thinks homestead exemption is really far too low, which I thought was amazing. He is really focused on doing something about our property taxes.
Mhm.
I thought it was amazing.
Getting them all together.
Well, but how do you do that? What are you going to replace it with?
Yeah.
But how do you naturally do that? But he definitely is focusing on homestead exemption for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that was pretty crazy, but amazing at the same time. So
He's aware of the fact that Floridians can hit the American dream of paying off their home, they retire and they still can't afford to stay in their homes. And he's
Yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah.
So that is something that, is a challenge for Floridians now, especially with the increase in our values. So.
And let's be honest, last year when they were saying those crazy thoughts of let's pay taxes on the unrealized gain in your property, y'all remember that. Clearly that would never have passed here in the state of Florida. So thank goodness for that. But so that's one of the things, at least we can feel good.
Mhm.
We know that is something that they're looking at
Yeah.
At the state level, which is a good thing.
Yeah. They were also talking about, we dealt with the look back periods. We talked about that.
Yes. Can you explain it slowly? We have to say this to Maria because she talks very fast.
Not as fast as you do, but close. So.
I think it's a competition here, but the look back periods are something that is very important, but it's not just on the coast. It's
not.
actually here too.
It's not.
And I think we need to just take a moment, take a little bit of a deep dive. Does anybody here know what a look back period is? This is why, take your time and explain a look back period, Maria.
So if you have flooding and everyone thinks about flooding and FEMA and the 50% rule as being a coastal issue, we
Now,
don't have to worry about
second.
that.
Do you guys even know what the 50% rule is? Exactly.
Okay.
So take it 3 steps back.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so this is the same thing we ran into with the legislatures. So you have flooding, you have an issue with your home from a hurricane.
Kissimmee, that had
Kissimmee.
huge flooding, right? The 2
Sand
hurricanes
Lake
ago.
Road,
Yeah.
Big Sand Lake.
Windermere. We flooded in
Yeah,
Windermere.
we flooded there. Wekiva, right here in Central Florida. So you have flooding in your home. FEMA says that if a single-story home floods in a flood zone, AE, okay, when you look on the tax record, AE, remember we used to have the other flood zones?
Yep.
Now it's one or the other. X, you're okay, AE or not. They look at, if you look in the property tax record, there's a letter. And FEMA says your house was worth X, and then they do a math formula. It's basically calculus, okay? You can tell I love math. They're gonna give you an amount, roughly 50%. So say the math comes out at 89,000, okay? If your repairs are more than that 89,000, they're gonna tell you you can't do the repairs. You have to tear it down and build up above floodplain. In other words, all the living space has to be 2nd floor above.
And who pays for that?
You do.
You do.
So the choice is your home is now worth land value only. No questions asked. You have no choice. Demo it. Oh, well, you have a mortgage? That's 300,000. Oh, well, too bad.
You have to pay for it.
Too bad. They don't care. It's end of story. There's nothing you do about it. Or you pay out of your pocket to raise it above floodplain. Now that's whether you're on the coast. Yes, it's more common there,
But on a lake.
but it can still be lakefront. It can be on the Wekiva River Basin, which happens all the time. It can be on Big Sand Lake. It can be, you name it, okay? Chain of lakes could be on Butler Chain, which I've seen a few of those where they were built in the 50s and it's right there on the water line and the water lines change. Look at riparian rights and how much that water line moves. So that's what a floodplain, that's what the 50% rule is about. And think about how much our values have gone up and how much the appraisal value does not really shift fast enough. Can you contest it? Yeah, you can, but think about the people that are coming in and making these numbers. And I'm going to tell you, you're probably thinking, well, okay, who the person who flies in, who's making this determination must be a special certified person. No, FEMA sends in individuals who are not appraisers. They're not engineers. They're not GCs. They send in individuals from out of state with no training and no licensors at all. And they'll send in as many as they can. And they make on average $50 per property. And they come in for 2 or 3 months at a time. And they may or may not go inside the property. And that's who's making these determinations.
Don't you
And
feel good about that?
And it's very hit or miss.
We only hope.
And this
Please
is a rampant problem. Now you can go back and you can contest this and you can hire a specialist. And if you know the right appraisal company and get the reappraisal redone and you can submit to the local government, you may or may not get this value bumped up. I would say about 75% of the time you don't get it bumped up enough. So then you are left with a property with a mortgage above the amount and you are left with the demo cost. And that's why you're seeing a rampant across the state where homes are having to be sold and they are coming to the table or going into foreclosure. So then you bring in the look back period. So look back period, what that is, so say you need $300,000 worth of work and your value is 89,000. So you may do 89,000 worth of repairs. So that look back period, let me stop there. So if you are able to do 89,000, you get enough done just to get livable, but you want to do a little bit more. You have to wait the look back period. Okay. So the look back period is 2 years. You have to wait 2 years before you can do anything else. Reassess the value. Now the value is 150. You can do $150,000 worth of work. Wait another 2 years. Reassess it. Now it's 175. You see what I'm doing here? I'm phasing it out. On the West Coast, for instance, there's 5 municipalities that don't have a look back period. And I can do all of the work at once. That's why a look back period is so key. Now in Orlando, we have a look back period and it's 18 months. We shouldn't have a look back period at all. So if we make look back periods go away, it's very helpful because we can do all the work at once at least. We still have to do with a 50% rule, but at least I can go in and do $89,000 worth of work. I can close out the permit, then I can enter another permit and I can do another $89,000 worth of work.
Now, let me point out one thing. Let's say you don't know any of this. Let's say you list the home and you sell it. You didn't realize that there was a FEMA letter even coming. You didn't wait for the FEMA letter. You sold the home. Now the person who buys it gets the FEMA letter who says that you have to do XYZ number of
Yeah.
work and it's not worth what the mortgage was on or what you paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you not think you as the agent who sold it are not going to be sued?
Oh, this is happening left and right.
You're going to be sued because you sold a property that was undervalued
Mhm.
and you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
Which is why if you have a property that is, especially if it's AE,
Yeah.
you better not be getting involved in that unless you are very familiar in this space. So I am hearing from people, especially playing on the coast, that does not know about this, does not understand look back laws, does not understand the FEMA ruling, does not even know if the FEMA letter has been issued, because by the way, they're taking forever
Oh, yeah.
to issue these letters.
A lot of the substantial damage letters still haven't come out from the last hurricane.
And they're having their buyers purchase
Yeah.
the property. That is reckless, and it's called culpable negligence on your part as the agent. Because even though you didn't know, you should have known. That is where you as the advisor can get sued later. And I only hope and pray that your errors and omissions will cover you, because truly you're being negligent. And I don't know that errors and omissions will even cover you, because that is really you're acting in poor faith, because you should have known. So errors and omissions usually covers you when the mistake isn't really yours. But when you're acting in bad faith, and that's culpable negligence, I really don't know how well errors and omissions does cover you. You may be out. So I'm just going to tell you, if you see something in flood, walk away, tell them to get an attorney if they are assisting on purchasing that property, but do not play in that space. There's a lot of lawsuits happening right now.
With good reason.
Yeah. Any questions? Excellent. Yeah, not to mention code of ethics violation. Because again, should you be playing in a space you don't understand? That's like doing commercial when you don't understand it, right? So I just want you to be very, very clear about the FEMA is really causing some serious problems for the homeowners,
Yeah.
but it can really roll over
Yeah.
to the people purchasing it for sure, and the agent who's
Yeah.
involved in the
Well,
sale.
the insurance too, the builder risk policies are jumping significantly now because of the substantial damage letters are now coming out. Policies are going from 9, 10,000 up to, I'm seeing them as high as 30,000, 30, 40,000 now, if you can even get them in some of these locations. So yeah, you gotta be very careful. Speaking of insurance, they
Yes.
brought that up. Also the commercial, what was it? The commercial squatter, right?
Yes, so commercial squatter rights. So they did last year, they did away, which was great. So if you had a personal property and someone squatted in your home, they got rid of the squatter rights last year. I don't know if you were aware of that. We lobbied for that. So if someone had squatted in your home, like in other states, I'll tell you right now in New York, if someone is squatting in your property, they own your home. You can't even kick them out. You can't even call the police. It's like you've just lost your property. It's ridiculous. But here in the state of Florida, because last year Governor DeSantis got involved in that, which we lobbied for. And if someone is squatting in your home, you can call the police and have them removed. You can take back your property.
Mhm.
So squatter rights are gone in a private residence, in residential. However, what we are rallying for this year is in a commercial space. What if you have a business? You have a tenant that is no longer paying. Now, how do you kick them out? We don't have the same protection for a business.
Yeah.
So you get people that are occupying your commercial space, not paying you, not leaving. You can't evict them. It's the same problem. So now we're trying to have them taken care of as well with the same situation. So that is what we're rallying for now. And you know what they said? Wow, we didn't even know that was a thing.
You're like, that's really a thing? Yeah,
Like,
they can move into that one
That-
too.
That's really a thing. And imagine in a commercial space, it's actually a bigger liability
Yeah.
because let's say they start doing things and they start maybe affecting the groundwater or, depending
Yeah.
on what they're doing in that space.
Those are some dangerous buildings
Whoever
sometimes.
owns that
Yeah.
property will then become liable for
Mhm.
cleanup. They're liable for
Mhm.
whatever happens to that space in the community around them.
Yeah.
So there could be a much larger ramifications in a commercial property. So it's really important that we get that taken care of. So hopefully they will make great strides in that as well. So that's another one. They talked about, which was another big issue. If you all remember last year, I don't remember how many, was it 13 of our wonderful, beautiful parks they wanted to build golf courses in and some
Yes.
resorts
Yes.
in. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not actually a bill, but they're putting in some bills they were talking about,
Mhm.
trying to make sure they're protecting.
Aware of it now.
Yeah, at least it's an awareness campaign, but they want to make sure that they're protecting our parks. I mean, we have plenty of land. You can build a golf course. We have plenty of land. You can build resorts. They don't
Plenty
need
of
to.
golf courses.
We have plenty of golf courses too, but you don't need to build it within
Yeah.
our parks. I mean, that's why people come to Florida is for our beautiful parks, right? So that's one of the other things that not just, obviously we want to make sure that our waterways stay clean, but we really need to make sure that we're protecting our actual parks because listen, look at the wetlands. I mean, the wetlands keep shrinking and shrinking. Why? They don't need to shrink, right? So, but we need to protect the space that we do have. See you today at the vendor event. Okay. So that was another really important thing that we were talking about. What were some of the other ones? we spoke
Clean water,
Yeah.
they touched on that, which no one seemed to argue too much with that.
Yeah,
They seemed pretty much okay
Seems
with that
okay
one.
clean
I
water.
don't think anybody really wants to come down on the negative side of clean water.
No, I think they're pretty okay.
They
with
might try to dump it out at the end. That's what happens a lot at the end of the session. I think everybody's pretty much aware of that, is they start trying to bury things in the bills, they start pulling things out, and
Mhm.
at the end of the session, I think that's where things will shake out. And this is we actually pay, as Florida Realtors, we pay on-staff lobbyists that are full-time in Tallahassee and DC on the national level. We'll update you after May for that one. But they made it clear several times that for last couple of years, we've really pretty much DeSantis has gotten everything he's asked for, which really filtered down to the Realtor Association, getting most of what we asked for. And this is the first time in a couple of years that the two sides have been fairly cantankerous with things.
Mm.
So this has been a pretty, say, aggressive start to the session.
Yeah, I would say I was pretty surprised. You could tell which side you were visiting for sure.
Very much so. It's interesting because I saw that a few years back when I would make some visits, and we went into one office, and there was some, it was friendly enough, but there was definitely some jokes being made about the air conditioning being cranked up because we were
Yeah, one side or versus
yeah.
another. Yeah.
So, and that's kind of reminiscent of a few years back. So it'll be interesting to see towards the end of the session if some of the bills that we were hoping to support are dumped out, or if they are kept in or not, things that maybe would be considered partisan or not. Now, things like hometown heroes, that's pretty, I think both sides of the aisle can agree on that. Clean water, that sort of thing. But some things can be viewed partisan, and it will be interesting to see if they're able to keep some of that stuff in.
You know what was interesting? It's also about how you present it.
Very true.
For example, the condominium, a lot of people, if you don't present that properly, could think, oh, it's always the expensive buildings on the water, that they're the ones that are going to need it.
Yeah.
No, we have a lot of buildings that are older than 30 years, that are 3 stories or higher down in, parts of Orlando.
That's affordable housing.
Yeah, that are affordable housing, that those
Attainable
people
housing.
No, these
Very
are just
correct me.
affordable, but I'm about attainable, but these are just affordable.
True.
But these poor people will not be
Yeah.
able to pay
True.
when they put assessments in that are going to be needed to
Yeah.
fix the infrastructure of this building,
It really is true.
And that's the reality. And if it's just how you present that, so it's really important before you go into these meetings to sort of kind of prepare what the talk track is going to look like. If you are talking about the coast and you're talking about the high-rise buildings, but guess what? They're not going to listen because their constituents are not there.
They're picturing the high-rise
Yeah.
luxury condos in Miami, and
Why do they care?
that may be luxury in Miami, but in Central Florida, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, and a pool in the backyard is maybe what we think of as the dream. but the condo is our entry-level housing here.
Yeah, we're not
In most
talking even
cases.
about the view. We're not
No.
talking about the,
No.
you know, the properties downtown with the white glove service,
No.
or we're not talking about those. We're talking
The
about some of
smallest
the-
price point.
exactly the entry level that have been around for years.
Just getting yourself started.
And those are probably the ones that are being condemned. Let's be real. So
Yeah.
what would
Where
have
the
been
developer
better
is gonna jump in and
had
grab.
we really researched the names of some of those buildings and
Where they're
been
located.
prepared with the names and, oh, isn't this in your area? That would have been good. I wish we had done that, but you know, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
Next year. But this is the importance though of
Mhm.
knowing who you're gonna go meet and being prepared with that talk
Yeah,
track. ahead.
absolutely.
That was really an eye opener for me because this was my first time. You know, I may be the chair, but I was brand new. But it was, I think, really important
Mhm.
to bring, and you know, the other thing that they asked us to bring true stories and real life things so they can understand the importance.
Yeah.
But that is exactly making it important for their district.
Yeah.
I think that was really, you can bring a story, but if the story is not important to their district, they're not going to care.
Yeah.
I think that was the more important part that we need to focus on.
And I know you said that, you know, Hometown Heroes, for instance, is not necessarily a Sotheby's space, but in today's market in Central Florida, it in a lot of ways it really can be, because a first-time home buyer helping, you know, a nurse or a fireman or a police officer, honestly, 4, 5, 600,000 can be a beginning price point in Central Florida, and helping someone in that space, it actually can apply.
Well, I'm not saying it couldn't be. I'm just saying,
But
I guarantee if you
Yeah.
ask most of our Sotheby's advisors, we
True.
probably have never worked with Hometown Heroes.
But where the Hometown Heroes is headed, it might,
Oh, yeah.
in the near future, it might actually be applicable in Central Florida, the way we're headed. So the
Absolutely
market's
true.
changing quickly, so.
There's no doubt about that. But I think overall, all of the issues we talked about were greatly important.
Absolutely.
And then there's some that we didn't talk about that
Sadly.
we will need to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent about solar panels. We need to get
Mhm.
legislation around that solar panel issue and
Yeah.
quickly. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I rant about it all the time. But when I see a home with solar panels, I hold my breath.
Yeah.
Can we sell this home?
Yeah.
Right? Is it a lease? Is
Mhm.
it a, you know, is it rented? Or, you know, or God help us, you know, do they own it outright? We can only hope and pray, right?
How much did it ruin that roof?
Right. And here's the thing. How much does the homeowner think it's going to help their appraisal?
Yeah.
Because the reality is it's not. If anything, it may take from the value of that home.
Mhm.
Because if they owe any money on it, that's a negative that we have to factor into the cost of that property. And we have to see if somebody will take over the loan or, God help us, the lease.
If they can.
If they
If they can.
if they're
At
willing
predatory interest.
at predatory interest rates, and they may have to restart the loan or the lease. I mean, this is just so awful, and nobody's looking at this. So there are
Yeah.
issues that we need to discuss that didn't come up that I hope come up in future sessions.
Yeah.
Hey, Carrie, are you going to talk about the medical facility?
Oh, thank you, Miss Linda. So that was the other thing that Aura actually asked. It was an ask from our foundation standpoint. Hey, Ariana, we are asking from the Orlando Regional Realtors Association for some support, because what we are trying to do is actually provide medical insurance, an actual medical
Or medical
facility.
facility, yeah.
Well, it's not really
Insurance,
insurance,
yeah.
but it's a medical
Subscription
facility.
based.
So, yeah, so you would pay a flat fee for the year, and it would be like emergent care and primary care type of thing at Aura's headquarters on the campus.
How many people even realize that we have a foundation through the Orlando Regional Realtor Association, and we have for many, many years? We build
Scary.
attainable housing. We've built an entire complex downtown Orlando. We did about 20 years ago, and have done several since
Veterans Park.
then. Yep, several since then. So we actually have raised funds for many, many years, and the foundation does different projects. So it would be through the foundation to build this clinic, and they've actually done quite a bit of work on it already. So
And our representative, Susan Placencia, was the one who came up with this concept.
she's a realtor. by the
She
way.
happens to be a realtor. She happens to be the head of the foundation, and she happens to be someone we got to sit with who was
Yep.
fabulous. And she came up with this concept. So the idea is that as a realtor and a member of the Orlando Regional Realtors Association, you could pay a membership fee of
Mhm.
whatever that would be, a couple $100, whatever, for the year. And then you could go and get your medical care from our facility. We've already partnered with another facility or another care partner
yeah.
who would work out of our facility. So on our campus, we have another facility in the back and they would be out, fitting that for the medical space.
And if you already had insurance, it's fine. You could still use your insurance there. It wouldn't just be if you didn't have insurance, that which would help
Mhm.
defray the cost. And we could also allow the community to participate, which would be an outreach version as well. So
And if you do have insurance, my understanding is, like a lot of us, we have the insurance that you really have no insurance until you hit your deductible. So the good thing is that you could probably be utilizing that, but not having to pay all your deductibles and stuff like that. Probably
Yeah.
just the membership and it would go towards that, which would be great
yeah,
too.
so it's a needed
Yeah.
version to explore. So
So we had several people said that they would support us. And to your point,
Mhm.
how much of it was lip service and how much was it actual? So we will
for
see. I know
Wouldn't be
Representative
surprised.
Placencia will.
well, yeah.
I think the first one we saw, what was her name again?
Don't remember.
I know, I
yeah.
forget her
I'm
name.
bad with
She
names.
may, she was from Winter Park. I think she may. The last two,
Definitely
no
will not.
way.
No.
Mm-mm. No, they will not. They said yes.
Not so much.
That was lip service, I
Yes,
can
it
tell you
was.
for
Yes, it
sure.
was. Yes.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely, it was definitely worthwhile. I think overall it was a successful trip. In May, June is Washington DC, definitely.
Let me share that.
But
It was fun, you guys. It wasn't just all business. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, you want to share, Linda?
I don't know, but it wasn't just.
What was that? Linda, are you there? Hello?
unmute yourself, Linda.
Unmute.
I'm sorry. I said, I think overall the trip was really fun all 3 days. It wasn't just business and serious. We had a lot of fun. I learned a lot too, but it was really fun.
Yes, we did have a lot of fun. Well, I will say that the bus trip was eventful. We found a rooftop bar and we met the president of the sheriff's
National Sheriff's
Mhm.
Association.
which was very interesting. We got to create a self-tour of the Capitol trying to find the passway.
In other words, we got lost.
We were totally lost, but we ended up making it, so that was good. Yeah, but we did. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got to meet people in a different space, which was nice too. I think that's really important. Yeah. So it was good on a lot of fronts.
There's a lot of different ways to get involved with your association, and I've done this in the past, and I've always found that there's different communities that you can get involved in. But this is one of my personal favorites because I feel it's the most impactful.
I agree.
So.
Honestly, again, like I said, it was my first time going and
But you're hooked, aren't you?
it is hooking.
Yeah.
I will say in here in May 31st to June 5th, there are legislative sessions in Washington, DC. And so National Association of Realtors has meetings, but Deidre Graybill, she is our key contact. Thank you for a representative there, as well as Claire. Can't remember Claire's last name. She's also a key contact. So we will be joining her to sit with our legislators there in Washington. Again, it's really important. What was most shocking to me, actually, I'm going to share this story. Our first representative, she's from Winter Park, and I spoke on attainable housing. And I was just sharing the costs all over Central Florida. I mean, I run so many offices, guys. I've seen the prices just climb in every market. And what used to be, somewhat attainable for people, it is really just out of reach for so many first-time home buyers now.
And she's
The parent that you
34,
purchase.
she said.
She said, I'm 34 and I don't own a home. She's renting. Right. That was my
She's-
face too. It's like, she's our representative.
But
she
it's
says,
not
"I get it."
uncommon. It's not
Yeah.
uncommon.
And so this is the point. I mean, it was surprising that what's really affecting them as well.
Mhm.
It was also surprising the things they didn't hear about. The fact that, the other thing we talked about was the business tax. The business tax, we've been working on reducing that. It's now down to 2%. And they're going to bring it down hopefully to another 1%. And Governor DeSantis is definitely focused on getting rid of it altogether next year. We have to get rid of the business tax because that's why people want to keep coming to Orlando
It's a
to
hard sell.
bring their company here. But it is a hard sell because
All-
that
That was hard with representatives. They don't see the value in as much.
you have
when
to
they're signing
understand,
down.
we don't have state income
Yeah.
tax. So that is one of our ways that we create money to fund things,
That's how they
right?
see it as a budget.
That's what they see it. So they're like, if we get rid of a business tax, where are we replacing the money? Now, what she had said, that first representative, which was interesting, she said, if we get rid of the loopholes for the corporate tax, then we could get rid of the business tax, because the business tax usually it goes after the small businesses. The corporate tax, they have ways to get rid of paying the corporate tax here, because they, put it off to other states and other countries. They have all these wonderful loopholes. If we could get rid of those loopholes, they'll have to pay the taxes here in Florida, and therefore the small businesses won't have to. And so that way it could balance out the budget and giving us still the opportunity to make the money we need to fund the things we have to fund. That was her idea, which I thought made sense.
At least she was open to a strategy.
Yeah. And so that makes sense, but it's true. If you take away an income producer, how can you replace that income? I mean, it is true. You have to be fiscally
She
responsible.
was thinking it through, which I was
Yeah.
impressed by that at least.
Yeah. So, but that was an interesting thing, but they are definitely committed to bringing it down another 1%. Hopefully they will. But it is one of those things, the business tax does make it less advantageous for businesses to come here.
Mhm.
It does. And they go to where? North Carolina, Tennessee. That's what happens.
It all filters down.
Absolutely. So we need them to come here. So this is another one, like I was sharing with you, that will be happening in June, the beginning of June. So we will probably be heading there, Maria, myself, and Linda. Linda's in it for the fun. Right, Linda?
And
Benefit.
have to be on the committee, although it would be phenomenal to have more Premier Sotheby's members involved. But you don't have to be on a committee to attend any of these. They're open to anyone to come.
And if you want to be
So-
on the committee, I happen to
We
know the
do have a
president,
hookup.
and I can get you appointed.
So
I get people appointed all the time.
this is the
I
best
have
way.
the power.
She does. So if
Mhm.
you're ever gonna dip your toe in, this is the one. I've done it for 20-something years, and I tell you, this is the one to get started with. It is the most impactful. It is the most exciting. It's the most enjoyable. So
And if you're into fashion shows, we're having a fashion show in the fall, Dress for Success. I've got
Yeah.
Peyton, our wonderful Miss Florida. She will be doing some, she'll be one of our wonderful models. I'm emceeing. We've got more models. So if you want to be involved in that kind of a thing,
Yeah.
whatever you want to get involved in, because we do our PAC, which is the Florida Realtor PAC, as well as government affairs.
that's right.
So we're involved in all things Aura, I would say. But, anything you want to get involved in with Aura, it's important to give back to the local association, because guys, if we're not watching what our industry is doing, especially at a time right now, right? If we're not keeping and being stewards of that, who is? Lord help us.
Yeah, less about giving back, more about
Being a
being
steward,
involved.
yeah.
Yeah, running.
Because think about what's happening right
Yeah,
now with the
good point.
public's perception of what we're doing. And if we're not doing the right things and
Yeah.
putting out the right information and showing the public, listen, we're out there to make sure that we're getting you the funds so you can buy a home. We're making sure that we're keeping the public, the parks safe, and we're guarding our waterways. And if we're not letting them know who's out there doing that for them, they don't know we're doing it. So we're going to be doing a social media push to let them know that what we did, in Tallahassee, you guys didn't know. Do you think they know? Have no clue what we're doing, right? This is important because right now, what do they think we are? A bunch of money hungry people that are doing nothing. That's what they think about realtors right now. We all know, right? And that's the farthest thing from the truth. So it's imperative that people like ourselves that are out there doing the good work, fighting the good fight for them, are the ones letting them know what we're doing as well. So social media is our only opportunity to really let them see the stuff we're doing. So I just want to remind you, don't be an undercover agent, but please, dear God, do not be the agent, and I know none of you are, that are just showcasing how glamorous you are and how wonderful your cars are and how, that's like, we don't want them to see all that stuff right now. We want them to see about the car, the houses that we're putting out and how wonderful the lifestyle is. Yes, of course. But when it's about you, we want them to see how hard you're working, all the wonderful knowledge that you have, all the great things you're doing in the community. Let's just be really focused on all of that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
And I just finished my luxury certification. So I've sent it off, hopefully to get whatever it does, immortalized or whatever. I don't do it, thank God.
Do you have experience in that area?
Just a
Just
little bit,
maybe a
just
little
a
bit?
wee bit.
Okay, that's
wee
good,
bit.
good.
So I'm looking forward to doing that as well. But I think some of the really key things that is important and reminds me of all of this, it's about discretion.
Yes.
You know, and now more than ever, we have to use discretion when we're, you know, with the right kinds of people, but we have to remember that we also have to let people know the good stuff we do. Sometimes we get so caught up in the discretion that we're not showcasing our knowledge. We're not showcasing us out there fighting the good fight, right? So sometimes every time you lead with gratitude, you're always safe. I'm just going to say, so if you lead with gratitude, you're leading with knowledge, sharing your knowledge. If anybody has not started their social media plan, you know, it's another great thing to do. Interview people. Interview people in the local community. That is always a great thing. You know, what are your thoughts on the business tax? What is your thoughts on the saving the park? I mean, whatever it is. I mean, it's going to help you obviously showcase your knowledge that you know what our key factors are, that what we're fighting for. And it's also interesting to get their opinions on it, right? Nothing wrong with, you know, kind of cornering them.
And none of us have opinions, right?
No, God, no,
not at
no.
all.
Anybody have any questions, thoughts, anything you want to share?
Not all at
Crickets,
once, not all at once.
crickets. Yeah,
Up to join if you have information.
yeah, of course. Let's see. I am the information booth. That's me. So you just have to tell me and I can tell Lawrence. But we have our meetings the third Wednesday of the month at Aura at 9:30. So if you want to join, you have to tell me, and then I just have to tell Lawrence to appoint you. It's that easy.
And if anybody is interested in attending DC, another great opportunity if you're planning on going up is the CIPS Institute. You can take the entire institute in DC.
Oh, great
Certified
one.
International Property Specialist, which honestly, it's right up there with the CCIM. You actually have to present closed transactions. It is one of the designations that makes the most difference. And since we are global advisors, it is a perfect fit.
Yeah, the CIPS is that one and the CCIM. I agree. Those are the two best designations,
really
the ones that
is.
I talk about.
It was an amazing one. I was one of the inaugural classes when they first came out with it. It's an amazing designation. I really encourage anyone, if you have any questions, reach out. I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I
And
really
it's
encourage it.
happening in DC.
You take all the entire course right there, all the days. It's 5 days. You can take all of them there. You still have to do your transactions, but I would
Yeah.
think most of us have some international transactions on the books. If
Oh,
not,
Lord, I would imagine.
I would hope soon. So
Mhm.
you can definitely do them right up there. So
Absolutely. That's great. Now, when they say international transactions, how do they expect you to support that from the HUD or like? What?
yeah, you need to be able to provide closed transactions, the HUD, something documenting that some party or the property is international. So the buyer or the seller could be an international persons, or the property itself could be international.
So if you just did a referral?
No, it needs to be, you need to actually been involved in the international transaction. So the
Okay.
seller could have lived overseas, the buyer could be
yeah.
overseas, or the property itself could be overseas.
Please do not be dealing with properties overseas. Okay, I just wanted to, that's why I got a little scared with that one. I'd rather you didn't do that one.
Yeah.
Do the buyer or
Maybe
the
it's the
seller
past
overseas.
before you worked for Carrie.
Yeah, that would be
That'd
better.
be okay too.
I would be better with that one because none of you are licensed overseas and
Well, it could have been someplace that didn't have licensure.
no, but
From
then
before,
from
long
before.
Yeah, before.
Well,
Don't get in
listen,
trouble.
there are places that you don't need licensure. Like in Brazil, you just need an occupational license. Same thing with Peru. But Jesus, Lord above, I don't want to know about it. So don't
Well,
come talking
for
to me about it.
example, in a previous life, I sold a lot in the Bahamas, which didn't have licensure at the
No,
time,
no.
but I did not physically handle the transaction. I
Gave it to an attorney.
I went there with my clients. The local attorney handled it with the property that was there. So it counted towards my CIPS.
Got it.
And so I wasn't causing harm.
Or if you gave it to a developer there,
Exactly.
that would have been
Yeah.
okay.
So something
feel
along
better
those
about
lines,
that.
but it was, but something along those lines that you did in the past would count towards your CIPS.
Is there a time frame in the past?
No, they'll pretty much go back
Okay.
till the beginning of time.
And how many?
If I remember right, you need 5.
I can have it right now. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, you definitely have.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
I'm so counting.
So great, you can take it while you're there.
Okay, excellent.
We just signed up Carrie. Who else is coming?
I don't have time. I'm meeting the legislators.
You definitely have
Any other thoughts, questions? Are you all joining us for the vendor event, second ever, the best,
Yeah,
backed by
3
popular
o'clock, right?
demand, 3 to 5, amazing food.
Even if they weren't, they have time to change their plans and still be here by 3.
Exactly. So exciting.
Hey, Carrie.
Yes.
So you mentioned solar. There's another problem that's
Hit me.
starting to come up. So the spray on foam in
Uh-huh.
the attic. So I'm dealing with a house right now, and you can't tell if it, the tie down or the nails.
Because it's covered by the spray on foam. Interesting.
So.
Oh my
I'm
goodness, where did they
now,
put
there's
it?
only
It's not
something
supposed to
you
be
can
up
do. You
there.
can remove it. But here's the thing, I called my roofer and he said, he goes, Brady, he goes, those are good or bad. He goes, but you cannot tell if there's a leak in there and it's
Yeah.
been in for a while, because I've seen roofs where they are moldy.
Ugh.
Oh my goodness, where did
That's
they put the
horrible.
foam? It's not supposed to be up that high.
It's right there. Well, no, it's on the wood. On where the.
Well, they're supposed to put it on the attic part, of
Yeah,
the roof.
exactly.
No, they had that one,
Yes.
but now they have the spray on foam.
Oh goodness, no.
That's terrible.
Oh dear.
They usually spray it right into the, out of the actual attic
Yeah,
part.
down,
Yeah.
oh my.
They're spraying onto the roof.
The wood.
Oh
That's
no, that's
terrible.
not good.
Imagine the condensation that would cause.
Oh, and then
That's
it's just gonna
terrible.
fall off and that's, yeah, that's bad.
Well, there's, so if it
Oh.
won't fall off, but there's chemicals in there that stays in your attic, that, so health issues.
Oh no.
Oh, God.
And then now we just went
Okay.
through an inspection
Yeah.
and there's solar, but it's paid off, yay.
Oh,
Now we can't.
Wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Nails, so I'm like, well, we can go through the fascia, but I gotta ask, so my guy said it would cost 10 to 15,000 to remove that foam.
Oh.
Because it sticks to the wood, so they
You have to
take off they have to take off
Do the
shingles,
trusses.
then they have to
Yeah.
take off the wood.
So they basically ruined the whole truss package.
Yeah, exactly. Have to redo the trusses.
Wonderful.
Well, you
Wow.
can cut around it, I mean, but it's
Okay.
amazing.
Now you're messing up your truss system.
Yeah,
That's
So-
terrible.
but they have a nice low electric bill.
Yes, they do.
I
like-
think
I
you
like to
should
look
have
at the
just
positive.
done the foil, right? You should have just foiled it.
Or
and
warned
done-
the foil.
Yes.
The spray-in insulation is good.
Yeah,
Not the foam.
no,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
could have just sprayed and done the foil if you
Oh.
wanted a double kill,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. The,
Yeah.
barrier in the
The
barrier.
barrier,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's starting to come up now because they started like
Okay.
8 years ago and now the roofs are.
That's terrible.
Oh dear, yeah.
So much fun. So much fun. I have so many things. Like, why did they go back to wood? Like, I still don't think the hurricanes have changed. So, I mean, I just think of the 3 little pigs, right? Like, I still really would feel better not in the stick home. I'd feel better in the block home. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So let's just talk. Yeah.
I read somebody published something down in Fort Lauderdale. Wood in Florida, on average, when they're building with it, only lasts 5 to 7 years. So in 5 to 7 years, how does somebody get a mortgage, 20-year mortgage on a house that?
Well, that's not true. 5, 7 years. Where do they come up with that? That's not true. There's plenty of stick homes that were built here forever.
Only when it's completely, when they said the slab up.
What do you mean?
They said between the rot and the wood. That, like,
We have 100-year-old homes.
Yeah, that
were
are made of
stick built.
wood. Yeah, that person's just full of it. Mm-mm.
Oh, good, scare tactic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, truly, I would much prefer first floor block and second floor wood, but we have been building wood here for years before they changed to the block than wood. I mean, David Weekley forever was building in
yeah.
wood.
It's all about how it's maintained.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's not necessarily true, but I prefer block for sure. Yeah,
If
But-
nothing else for insulation purposes.
yeah, but no, that's not true.
I'm like, is that more so true for South Florida with like?
No,
Is there more bugs down there? 'Cause this was, I think, like, it was a publication in Miami.
No,
no,
Mm.
I
no.
can show you stick built homes that are 100, 120 years old, still
That's
standing,
the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
still standing.
No,
Build better.
It's all
Yeah.
about how it's built, but I can
Yeah.
show you concrete block homes that are gonna fall down too. It's execution, but
Yeah.
I still prefer concrete
I
block
would
too.
take concrete too.
I
yeah,
prefer
but-
concrete block with poured concrete too.
Yeah,
but, you know,
please pour the concrete.
that'd be even better,
Yeah,
but,
that
you
would
know,
be
it's
good. Don't leave a
execution.
hole and then have the water coming in and yeah, let's not talk about that. Yeah. So, but thank you all for joining us. We
I
got,
have one question.
oh, hit me, Max. Mm-hmm.
For the CIPS, does it make a difference what country?
No,
Mainland China?
No,
nope.
they're,
Might not let them buy here, but you're okay showing us you did a transaction there. Yeah,
yeah, they could be selling.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. we
And it
don't
could be
mind.
passed. You know, there's a whole section on the CIPS on Asia Pacific. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's one of the sections you'll be taking. So
Yep. You're
Thank
good.
you.
Yep. No, remember that law just came in last year anyway, so so you're okay.
and there'll be a whole lot of selling going on anyway. So
Yeah, that's true. Yep. And there are exemptions anyway, remember, so.
like certain sections where they can still own, just not near certain areas. So
So, yeah, well, thank you all. Thank you,
Yeah.
Maria, for that. Do
Yeah,
you have anything else you
absolutely.
want to share?
not at all. I think I talked everybody's ears off enough.
Any other questions? Anybody else want to share anything? Keith, are you going to go back? You want us to pick you up next year? I don't know that I'll take the bus.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yes. Well, thank you all.
talk.
We'll talk later. But thank you all, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you at 3 to 5 for the vendor event. Okay, bye.
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 Bye.